All right, welcome to Buddy Book Club. I'm Dylan here with the Chief of the Savages, Keith. What's up, buddy?
Savage by name, savage by reputation.
Oh, good God. We're breaking down some bestsellers, and this week we'll be discussing Lord of the Flies by William Golding. It is our 30th episode, by the way, Keith. 30th.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
I like breaking things up in tens, just like everyone else.
Are we halfway through the year? So essentially, we're on pace for 40, right?
Yeah, exactly. We're above pace. We're ahead of pace. Like it. We're setting the pace. We're like the Ethiopian runners in the Boston Marathon. If you'd like to recommend a book for us to read or reach out to us about any past episodes, you can visit our website, buddybookclub.com, or slide into our DMs on Twitter or Instagram, Buddy Book Club Podcast. You can listen to us on iTunes and Spotify, so please download and subscribe. Keith, we're going back into literary shit. I like it. I know you were kind of hesitant, especially when I start throwing literary terms.
Yeah, once you start saying motifs, I'm like, is that like a bow tie, or what is that?
I actually have no idea what a motif is. That's why we run the best book
Next
podcast
two of us.
in the country. So Lord of the Flies is your classic deserted island. Boys get stranded there, except it's not, because it's all about deeper meanings. But we're going to get into that later. For a libation, the kids seem to not even need booze to get all wackadoo. So unless you have some pig blood on the side, I'd suggest, having a beverage of your choice. It's the summer, maybe a mojito. We're going to go right into stock up, stock down. So, Keith, let's get into it with your stock ups. Keith, what do you have for stock up for Lord of the Flies?
Stock up prison tactics?
Like Oz?
I haven't seen Oz, but I assume there's a lot of this. We're first introduced to Piggy and Ralph, and Piggy makes this big mistake here.
I know where you're going.
First thing he does is you don't share your insecurities, all right? That's the first thing in prison. You just don't do that. Immediately he starts telling his life story. Here's my list of fears. Here's my maladies. Here's everything that's wrong with me. I'm like, what the hell is this Piggy kid doing? And then he's like, you can call me whatever you want. Just don't call me Piggy, right? And then Ralph immediately starts laughing and calls him Piggy. There's only two options from here once that happens. You either punch Ralph in the face, right? Right in the mouth, and just say, do it again, right? That's the one option, or you leave the island and don't ever talk to Ralph again. Those are the only two things you can do. You can't tell everyone all this stuff and then look right in the face and say, I'm going to call you Piggy regardless, and then have any self-respect, right?
But in this allegory, you can't just leave the island, just like you can't leave prison.
Well, that's why prison tactics are stock up. I always thought they're kind of a little bit overstated, you got to punch the biggest guy in the mouth, but that would have changed the whole book had he just punched Ralph in the mouth. Also, Piggy's asthma was just fake, right? He was faking that, right? That wasn't real.
He was just like a husky boy.
Yeah, he was like, yeah, I have asthma. And they never had any asthma attacks. He never had any issues with it. I'm like, is that how that works? I don't think...
Well, he would heavy breathe, He'd have some heavy breathing moments. But he did use it smartly. It'd be like, hey, Piggy, why don't you get firewood? He's like, my asthma. He's like, Piggy, why don't you do this? Like, my asthma. It's like, all right.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. And he's like, my aunt. It's like, all right, enough of your aunt, Piggy. Jesus.
He loves his aunt. Also, he must have a traumatic... So this book was written in the 50s. So we're assuming... Because he lives with his aunt, are we assuming this is like some post-World War II vibe? I guess that's what we're going for, right?
The beginning, they don't really give you any backstory, but apparently he initially wrote a long first section that was about a nuclear, post-apocalyptic World War III event, where they're flying away from whatever's going on, and that's why so basically that's how he started it, but they don't really cover that at all, but that's essentially what it was supposed to be.
And then the editors were like, nah, that doesn't check out, and he's like, cool.
He got some notes from someone, and they were like, this book's terrible, it's super dull and pointless, and then he was like, all right, I guess I'll change it.
It's hilarious that a book like this, which is become, obviously, a literary classic, just got so many notes. Imagine what it was supposed to be, and it really goes to show why Larry David was so good, because he just said no notes. I'm not going to listen to your notes. You can provide notes if you want, but it's going to be useless for you because we're just going to keep going with Seinfeld and then Curb and whatever else.
Yeah.
I kind of like prison. I can dig prison tactics.
Yeah, he ended up getting killed, which,
Oh, spoiler alert.
Spoilers, sorry, spoilers. But because he didn't follow prison tactics. That's fact of the matter. That's it,
Yeah. Well, even sometimes when you follow prison tactics, you still get killed. That's kind of the way you go. It's like you punch the biggest guy in the mouth and then he stabs you in the face. So,
fair.
My first stock up is Smokey the Bear. He's been quiet of late. I feel like when we were kids, there's a big Smokey vibe going on. You know, Saturday morning cartoons, big Smokey vibe. There's at least one ad for only you can prevent forest fires. And these kids probably grew up without Smokey, and it shows because had these kids been schooled by Smokey, they wouldn't have lit half the forest on fire and killed the one kid with the birthmark on his face. And then they just never talked about it anymore. But, you know, boys will be boys, perhaps, and they decided to light the entire forest on fire. They had no idea about, you know, cleaning some space between your fire and the wood pile. Nope. They just went for it, lit half the island, see you later, kid with the smudge on his face, forgotten.
That was just Drew Brees, right?
Who? Who's Drew Brees?
Drew Brees, that kid.
Oh, with the
birthmark.
God damn it.
You see the Oprah thing where she like, hey, and just tries to wipe it off his face?
No.
Yeah, you've never seen that?
No.
Look that up. I thought it was a joke at first, but she's dead serious. She's like, oh, looks like you have something on your face. And she goes to wipe off his like birthmark. And he's like, huh. Like, what do you do? How do you respond to that?
Yeah, how do you respond? Well, there's one way. So, you made me completely lose my train of thought.
Sorry.
Oh.
Forest fires.
Yeah,
Smokey the Bear.
When the captain of the ship or whatever at the end comes on, and they're like, he's like, oh, you guys playing out here? It's like, yeah. It's like, hopefully no one killed. And he's like, 2. I'm like, whatever happened to the guy with the freaking birthmark? They just forgot about him? Like, you guys killed him too. It's
2
like,
homicides. That was more of a second-degree murder? Third-degree?
Yeah, I guess so. But
Okay.
That's fair enough. But either way, Smokey the Bear, if these kids had a little bit of him in their life, I mean, they obviously had some Boy Scouts or something because they used the glasses. They were smart enough to use the glasses to light a fire.
Yeah.
So, big mistake. That's what I got for stock up. What do you got?
Franklin D. Roosevelt. Stock up. So,
Polio?
So everyone's on the island, and they're all convinced of this beast, right? That's on the island. That they're all scared of that. It's in the night. All this stuff. Everyone's so scared, and Ralph's trying to like give them a inspiring speech to be like, no, it's not real. Like, you know, and try to inspire all this hope and the youngins and everyone else there. All he had to do was take a little line from my boy Frankie D and just say, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. And that would have ended it. But he couldn't say that. He was trying to say that the whole time. He just knew a little history and knew Frankie D.
Yeah,
It'd be
that's
over.
a good point.
That's the only thing we needed from that speech. But he
That's a
couldn't
good
figure it
point
out.
because fear has a lot to do with this, right? That's like got to be one of the big themes here is how fear just grabs
Motif,
us.
for sure.
I'm gonna have to Google what a motif is because I just don't know. But yeah, the fear is really what drove them. They just had your boy. He wasn't even scared of polio.
What did he do exactly? Because I'm not sure. I just looked up because I knew that quote, but I didn't really know anything of. Did he have polio?
I think that's what he had, right? That's why he was in a wheelchair. God, we're terrible people.
Yeah, this isn't good.
Well, if anything, he led the U.S. through most of World War II, so, you know, that's a thing. My other stock up is the other white meat, a.k.a. pork.
I thought it was baby. Fat bastard? Come on,
Yeah,
kid.
no, I got you. I picked up where you're putting down. But, I mean, talk about a bloodlust. These guys will do anything for some pork. It's crazy, you know? I haven't seen anything like this since last time I was in Hawaii, and everyone was like, I gotta go to a luau. I'm like, why? They're like, because there's pork in the ground. I was like, oh, okay, that sounds good to me. I'll eat pork if it's in the ground. I'll eat pork whenever. But, I mean, these guys are literally deciding not to try to get rescued and instead will go hunt for pork. Yes, I know there's deeper meanings to all of this stuff. We're talking top level right now, but
Was there?
Yeah.
I didn't know what the deeper leanings were.
I think so, because like the whole idea of like hunting is just we're gonna show our strength, our masculinity. You know, that vibe is we're hunters just because it shows. Like it's almost the guy who's like the most scared is usually the one who's pretending to be the toughest kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Prison tactics. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go, maybe. Yeah, the big white supremacist in jail is crying and sucking his thumb at night. Pork is delicious, there's no question. And I'm with them to some degree. These guys are climbing up trees, eating shitty, rotten fruit all day, having the runs, and they get a shot at some good meat, although they just kind of like kill the pork. They got salted water, boil some of that down, salt that pork. Cut it up into different strips, get some belly for going for bacon in the morning. Mix it up. They just kind of go for it. Obviously, they're children, so they can't really get that vibe. But either way, pork is what keeps us going. I wouldn't be surprised if Big Pork was actually behind the marketing of this entire novel.
That's fair. That's a fair point. Where are they getting the salt from, by the way?
The ocean, bro. Have you ever heard of it?
How do you do that? You boil down the water and then the remaining salt?
Yeah, they had they literally lit an entire forest on fire. They could have just put a pot of water or a couple coconuts of water. They didn't have a pot, I guess. They could have some coconuts of water and just gone after it. They could have figured it out. Come on. They figured out how to murder each other. They could figure out how to get some salt.
That's true.
Either whatever, just dip the pork in some salty water, let it dry.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah. My last stock up is Nerds and Cowboys. I recommended this to you, but I listened to the Shane Gillis and Louis C.K. President's podcast, which tying back to Frankie D. Roosevelt there. And it was super informative. I don't know if you actually gave it a listen, but I recommend it for anyone that's like kind of into history, into presidents, and wants to get like a funny rundown of them. They actually give a pretty good storytelling of what like each president's known for and did.
Did you listen to like all 45 episodes or however many presidents there are?
There's 4 episodes, so it's like spans probably over 6 or 7 hours maybe. And they'll just like skip people that I'm like, this guy didn't do anything. But then they'll be like, all right, Frank D. Roosevelt, this is like what he's known for. It would be like funny stories about them.
Oh, that's cool. Like that. So like William McKinley, fuck him, next.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Taft, so fat he got stuck in the bathtub, next.
Like this guy's known for getting like shot at or something. Or like this guy went outside and what was the president that I wanted to show how tough he was, and during his address he just didn't wear any long sleeves or anything. That
and
was
then
like
died
freezing.
Of pneumonia?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Maybe that was McKinley, like the shortest president.
But anyways, I think Louis C.K. brings up is that the presidents are basically broken into nerds and cowboys, where the nerds come in, they actually like make changes that are important, but they're not really well liked. They usually are like not popular in any way because they're just making stuff that people don't like. And then the cowboys come in like Teddy Roosevelt. Everyone loves them. They're these big characters. But they kind of fuck everything up, and then people then again vote for a nerd, and then they vote again for a cowboy, and so it just keeps going back and forth, and that's like how the country's set up. But that's basically what Piggy and Ralph were, and Jack. They're like Piggy's like kind of the level-headed, actually making some good ideas, and then the other people are just cowboys, and people are like going with the person that's more popular. So it was kind of interesting, the leadership standpoint, how that kind of reflected in this as well.
No, that's 100%. That's actually really interesting because Ralph's a total nerd, even though he really is like a badass at heart. When they first go to like get the beast or whatever, he's like, all right, I'll go alone, no big deal. Then he's like, oh, okay, these people will come with me, but he was ready to go alone, which like even Jack wouldn't do. But Ralph's a pragmatist, like he's looking to keep the fire going. He's like, that's the only way we're going to get off this island. And Jack and his crew are just like, nah, man, it's all about hunting. It's like, well, what's that going to get you? Like, you're just going to kill some pigs and you're going to eat, and then what? Like, what do we do after that? So I feel like there's definitely, an allegory for that nerd's cowboy vibe, and also the fire kind of being like the shit that we have to do every day. Neither of us are necessarily like blowing it out of the water in our day jobs, but it's just like, hey, that's what we got to do to survive. Like we all gotta like hustle, and nowadays everyone hustles for the man. I mean, we all wish we could be homesteading in Alaska, but where the fire is us like hustling for the man so that we can then like get rescued, aka salvation. I mean, I'm not a big Jesus freak, and by big I mean zero, but I think that's the idea. Is like, hey, if you just stick to getting up in the morning, taking care of your own personal fire, at the end of the day, have a piece of fruit, go to sleep.
You know, they're shitting in places they weren't supposed to shit. That's
Yeah.
you and your job, Keith.
That is a motif for.
That's your life. Shitting and distracting
Yeah.
and being terrible for everyone else around you.
So
okay.
I'm Ralph in this. Some other person's Jack, and you're a Littlein. You're just shitting in the water, and we're trying to figure out, like, running around naked. And we're like, bro, chill out. You know, making sandcastles all day that are just going to get washed away. Let's jump into stock down. Having a terrible nickname. So if you have a terrible nickname, and I know a few friends with terrible nicknames.
Can you provide examples, please?
So I have a good friend who's actually coming to visit me this weekend. His name is Cheese. Mm-hmm. He has always been Cheese in my mind. When I introduce him to people, I introduce him as Cheese. I've never called him by his Christian name. Maybe if I was talking to, like, an adult or something like that. Like a real adult, not whatever we are. But someone's father or something like that, I would say.
I don't think that Cheese is a bad nickname, though.
Well, that's not the only one. There's also Pubes, who's like a real person.
That's not great. That's bad.
And that person's last name is Hubner. You know, it just Pube. It just happens. And the biggest mistake you can make, if you get a new lease on life, if you're on a desert island, if you go to college, you know, that's your high school nickname, you go to college, the biggest mistake you can make is saying what your nickname was. Because then obviously that's going to happen. So here's the thing, people. Just don't go around telling people what the nickname you hated was. It's really that simple. Although Ralph does make a good point when he's like, hey, they were going to call you Fatty. So would you rather be Fatty or would you rather be Piggy?
Fatty, I think, honestly.
Yeah, granted, at the end of the day, they're now equating Piggy with pig, which is something that they slaughter. So they're like, hey, this guy's now just a piece of meat that we can do whatever we want with. Which they indeed do, although they don't eat him or shove a stick up his butt like they did with the pig. But leave your nicknames at home, you know? And also don't be the guy, and I did have this friend in college who tried to create his own nickname. Don't be that guy either. That's the worst. Just let them come to you.
Mine was British sports, stock down. So during the book, there's a lot of times where there's kids throwing rocks or throwing spears and doing stuff, and they're like overall just not very good at it. And I realize it's because British sports, there's no harping on throwing, right? You think of America, you think football, American football, you think baseball. Neither of those sports are even played really in Britain, right?
This is interesting.
What sports do they play that actually involve throwing? They're using that motion.
Cricket, maybe.
But I don't think cricket is that popular there, right? I think that's like an India and like Australia sport more.
Yeah, but where do you think the Australians and the Indian people got it from?
I mean, we're originated from British colonies too, kids, so...
We revolted in a way that's different than going out to the ocean and collecting sea.
Yeah, we started drinking coffee and fucking playing football and baseball like men. And women here. That's what we did.
I'm trying to think about other stuff. We got hurling, but that's like a Scottish thing, right? But that has a stick too. But isn't like the javelin and like those things, like aren't they big with that?
I mean, I'm basing this off zero research or never being to Britain. Okay? Just say, yeah, you're right. They don't play football or baseball like real men over here in America. And say you're right. Stock down.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. Stock
you.
down. Those British pansies don't do anything. They don't even sport. They play lawn bowling.
They don't even sport. Yeah, exactly. They're too busy on their horses playing polo, kid. That's the problem. Or croquet.
Oh, yeah. Croquet's a great game, by the way. Big fan.
It's one of those like games you like more because you don't play it very often. That's all it is.
Fair enough. My next talk down is the idea of grown-ups knowing things. So, from Piggy, R.I.P., grown-ups know things. They ain't afraid of the dark. They'd meet, have tea, and discuss, and then things would be all right. No, they wouldn't be all right. You're wrong, Piggy. The one thing I've learned as I've grown up is that grown-ups are just as dumb as everyone else. I just said how I went to, like, the U.S. Open yesterday for a practice round. Humble brag, I guess, but not really. And you should see these people out there. They are fucking children just screaming, "Oh my God, Phil Mickelson. Oh, Phil, we love you." I'm like, who are you? Like, I'm turning around and it's like a 50-year-old man. It's 10 a.m. He's double fisting Bud Lights. I'm like, dude, what is happening here? It just shows when you just give people that like crowd effect. It doesn't matter whether you're a kid, whether you're an adult, but they don't know shit. And also, adults are afraid of the dark. I'm afraid of the dark sometimes. I'm not afraid to admit it, you know? I'm at my house, some creaky shit goes down, all the windows and doors are open. I'm like, maybe I should close the doors. That doesn't sound so good. And I think this is actually like this was an important quote, I think, from the book, because it shows this idea, as well as later in the book when they get picked up by the sailors and whatnot. It shows this idea that, oh, okay, like adults are different, but the whole story is... It's about the kids on the island, but it's really just about what happens when kind of society breaks down and you start from anew, and whether people's emotions and lead them to a sense of morality, or if you as a human being are actually just a terrible person at heart. You know, that's kind of the way it goes. And this idea that the adults know what's going on, like, whoa, we all live in the same world. Adults obviously don't know what's going on, because granted, we got this wonderful technology and stuff, but we're going around, you know, removing abortion and crazy shit like that because people are wild. And then even with this guy at the end, the sailor on the boat thing, he's like, oh, picks them up, he saves them. But then they're going on, like, they're in a battleship, like, they're going on to fight some other fucking people. They're just hunters themselves. They're savages themselves. These sailors who are in, you know, their white clothes. Ooh, bright white clothes, look beautiful. Like, no, they're just going to fuck up some other shit. Fuck up the world. We're all just doing the same thing. So
that's a great point. I will push back on the adult 50-year-old double fisting Bud Lights. I mean, that's just enthusiasm and being, you know, excited about something. What are we taking that away from people? That's childlike because it's great. I don't think we should ever take that away, Damon. I don't know. I don't like the criticism there.
Okay, that's fair. To be honest, I shouldn't have thrown in that he was chugging a couple Bud Lights. You know, maybe it's his day off.
I mean, if you're going to somewhere and you're excited about something and you're rooting for someone, there's nothing bad about that. I mean, I can see how it's like, you know, it's not real life, but that's the whole point of going to that, right? It'd be a little different if you're doing that at a political rally. Then you're a fucking weirdo, in my opinion. But
yeah, I guess there's like worse things to be like super jazzed about. But, and I'm also just a cynic at heart, so it's just so weird to me, truthfully, that people get so excited. You know, if someone makes a good golf shot, I'll clap, be like, hey, nice job. But I'm not like screaming at him like, Phil, you got all that money. How's it going? Who should I bet on this weekend? Like, it's just like a weird thing to be like trying to get a rise from the rest of the crowd. I don't know exactly what you're doing.
Wasn't Phil Mickelson in our previous episode one of the 4 people or 3 people you'd want to go out to the bars with or whatever we had?
Oh, yeah, maybe because he's gambling. He's a serious gambler.
I think he's in serious debt because of it, but yeah.
Yeah, well, if I was sitting next to him, I'd have a good time. Don't get me wrong, but I just wouldn't scream at him. It's just a weird thing. Weird thing. All right, favorite scene, favorite character. What do you got?
Yeah, so for favorite character, I went Simon. I mean, I just really didn't like anyone else in the book. And he realizes how crazy everyone is, and he just kind of is like, you know what, I'm just going to go off my own and just hang out. And then he starts talking to a dead pilot with flies on him and call him the Lord of the Flies and has his own conversation and stuff with him.
No, he was talking to the pig's head.
Oh, was it a pig's head? Yeah, whatever. I couldn't figure out what was going on in that scene.
Well, that's like a big scene.
Okay, well, but yeah, I mean, I just like that he kind of, one, just talks to himself out there and makes things up, and he's just off on his own. And then, you know, he's kind of trying to save everyone, and he runs down and then just gets killed.
Yeah, that was a big mistake by him.
And then I was like looking up, just like reading the summaries and stuff like that, and people are like, oh yeah, Simon's supposed to be Jesus. And I was like, wait, what? Defending the little ones and Piggy. He represents good and kind of not speaking too much, even though Jesus did speak a lot, so I don't really get that. But then he gets
Jesus
like killed.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, he gets killed for his beliefs or something. I don't know. I couldn't really figure it out.
And he gets stabbed like a spear, just like Jesus.
Yeah, so I was like, all right, I guess. But anyways, I picked Simon.
Well, we're trying to like recreate a society here, whatever was going on. I definitely saw Simon as like a priest class. If you're in your Clash of Clans or whatever you're playing over there, do they have those? like a wizard class or something.
Oh, in Dota? Well, kid, there's 3 different classes. There's strength, agility, and intelligence. I mean, you got to know that. And then within those, there's each different kind of categories within those.
Subcategories.
Oh,
Yeah.
of course. Yeah.
He was almost like a shaman. You know, he'd talk to himself. He'd have these like mystical conversations. And the conversation with the pig's head, I think, was, I forget the exact quotes, but he's basically saying, pig saying like, oh, am I the beast? You know, you think I'm the beast? You think like you can kill me or whatever? Basically what I got from that was that, you know, the beast is really a figment of their imagination. You know, they are the beast. Oh no, that's something like that. He said like, it's not, is it us or something like that? I don't know. It was weird.
What's funny is when I was reading this, I was like, oh man, imagine if I went back in high school and had the ability I have now. And I read this and I was like, oh no, I would still fucking get D's on high school English class. I'm like, no, I'm still dumb. Oh, why do I think I'm possibly smarter than I was then? Like, what am I doing? But
yeah. Oh god, the internet changed things for us because I don't even. When do we read this in school? Isn't it like
high school,
6th grade or
no?
Was it high school?
I think it was high school. I feel like it's pretty some pretty strong.
There's some legit shit.
Yeah, for it to be a middle school book, that'd be.
It's heavy, but it is definitely full of symbolism and like the ideas that, you know, this is, it's a societal allegory or something like that. You know, just the idea that this is a microcosm of what would happen in society. But Simon talking to himself, Simon like going to his like secret place to like just be alone was very like meditative and like prayer and stuff. So yeah, I dig it. I was a big Simon fan for sure. It has to be him. I'm with you. I'm with you there. Unfortunately, he made the big mistake of like seeing a bunch of guys like going crazy around a fire and be like, oh, this is the time I should jump out of the bush and start screaming. So that was a big mistake. Piggy, though, has a little, maybe an honorable mention just because he was the only one in touch with his feelings. I mean, I can see my girlfriend saying that this guy must be a Pisces or something like that. Like, oh, when's Piggy's birthday? Because all the other guys at the beginning, they can't accept their own fear, and so they belittle Piggy for expressing it. You know, a classic guys being guys move. Piggy's the first person to just be like, yeah, you know, it's a little scary out here. And they're like, oh, Piggy, you're a pussy.
Piggy's
it's like,
kind of a whiny little bitch, though. Like, I mean, I wanted to like
I
him.
agree.
But
That's why he's not my favorite.
He just whined all the time. I'm like, all right, Piggy, like, come on, buddy. Like, you're killing me. And you already brought up earlier where you just be like, nah, I don't really want to help build the houses. It's like...
That would bother me. That part would bother me.
He's like, it was my idea, so you guys can just do it yourselves. Like, Jesus.
Yeah. But I get the frustration by Ralph and Piggy, and even Ralph like got super frustrated in the book because they didn't see it. You know, it was like, hey, we need a fire to live. And everyone's like, nah, like, we're just going to play on the beach, kick over sandcastles, and hunt. He's like, well, then we're just going to be here forever. Like, do you guys never want to touch your first boob? I don't understand.
That's what Piggy was there for. I mean, what?
Oh, Piggy. Yeah. So I appreciate a little bit of Piggy for that. And obviously another honorable mention for Ralph just because he's a good guy. And you know, maybe there might be some Jack love coming. We'll see. Did you like any scenes or anything from this one?
I did really like the last scene where he's running through the forest while it's all on fire. That would be kind of cool to see. Also, a little spin zone there. Did Jack save them all, right?
That's what I was going to say. I got some Jack love coming.
Spin zone. I'm Jack. I'm like, yeah, it was my idea to light the whole forest on fire. I've been saying we need a fire this whole time. No one's been listening to me. And then Ralph would be like, no, but I was one. He's like, yeah, Ralph, you wanted a pussy fire. I wanted a huge fire, which I just did.
Yeah. Yeah. Ralph's like, oh, let's light a fire on top of the mountain. He's like, no. Jack's like, no, let's light the mountain on fire. Don't you get it? Yeah, it is funny and ironic and hilarious, all that stuff, that at the end of the day, the fire that Jack started was the fire that got the guy comes off the boat. He's like, yeah, you guys lit a huge fire out here. How could we miss it?
Smart. Yeah, whoever did that was a smart person.
Who did that? Yeah, they get back home, Jack gets like knighted by the queen or something like that. Okay, yeah, I agree that the last scene I thought was really fun, just in terms of like, okay, I knew the book was ending, you know, especially when you're page turning. I also love those parts when you actually have a physical book and you're like page turning. You're like, there's only 2 pages left. Like, what the fuck's going to happen here?
I actually remember the ending from high school.
Well, I had almost like a high school feeling before we started talking because I finished the book this morning while I was taking short.
Love it. Love it.
And I finished it this morning and then was like, oh my God, my brain is so clusterfucked. Like, I understand some of this stuff, but I don't really have time to think about it. And then, so I did what every good high school student does, and I watched the movie on HBO, right, while I was working.
Oh, wow.
Which helped, yeah. And then we're here, and we started recording, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready for this.
Yeah,
I had those feelings.
Exactly like
those feelings came back. Yeah, it was wild. It was a wild feeling. I like the end, too, because it's like them hunting Ralph, which is wild. And you think about the whole island burning around him, and him just kind of like bobbing, weaving left and right. You know, do I go in a tree? Do I go in the bush? Do I charge them? Whatever. I dug it. Also, just Piggy dying scene was probably... because I couldn't really picture it in my head. It's like, oh, he falls off a 40-foot cliff.
They kind of brush it off in the book. There's like, and then Piggy got hit by a rock and he died, but the conch broke. I'm like, wait, what? They're like, the conch is gone though, which is most important.
Well, I think it's the idea that the conch is somewhat a symbol for society coming together in a good way. You know, it like brings people together. They listen, they sit, they're quiet, you know, they pass the conch when they need to talk, you know, these rules that we give ourselves. And then instead, when it breaks, it's like, yeah, we're succumbing to anarchy. But I did like the line when Piggy died, it was like red stuff flew out of his mouth or something like that. It was like, whoa, what? Yikes. What do we love about Lord of the Flies? What'd you love?
Couple of British slang terms I really liked. The term "on account of." Probably heard this a bunch, but Norm Macdonald says this all the time. It's, oh, I can't build those houses on account of my asthma.
Is that a British thing?
I don't know if it's a British thing, but Norm Macdonald says that all the time, which I think is funny. But I just like the term, just like, oh yeah, I'm not driving there on the account of the fact that I'm drinking 20 beers today. Like I'm gonna start using that, right? You know.
Okay, so we're gonna add that.
Oh yeah,
you're using it specifically for that purpose. I got it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Just like throw that in there on account of, because I think it's just a funny way to speaking. It just kind of reverses the order of your words.
Yeah, it's like, Keith, you're gonna leave your car here, like after the softball game. Your house is 30 miles away. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna walk on account of the fact that I just had 30 beers.
There we go. That's a better way to say it. See, that was much better. Damn it. I also like specs for sunglasses. I'm gonna start using that.
Well, it's glasses.
Well,
glasses.
No, but I'm using it for. I don't wear glasses, so I'm using it for sunglasses.
Yeah. Oh, must be nice.
Yeah,
you
like
got great
that?
eyesight. Well, you can't light a fire on a beach.
With my specs, I can. I got some specs, shaded specs.
Yeah, I liked specs too.
Yeah.
Give me my specs back.
Yeah.
You didn't include taken short.
How does that go?
What? The phrase taken short, to suddenly and unexpectedly need to use the bathroom, especially when it's inconvenient.
Oh, okay. I probably did not understand that. Oh, they were like, yeah, be like, oh, he needs to take a shit. And I was like, why is everyone like laughing about it? Who cares?
No, but they said he needs to take short. So that's why I was confused about it. I was like, wait, what? And then I looked it up. I was like, oh, that's actually a thing. So I might use that to take short, or to, fuck, what was the other thing? To like need short or something like that. But I'd be like, we're on a long car ride. It's like, you got to pull over quick, hon, because I'm about to take some short in here.
All right, okay.
I've been taken short.
Yeah.
To suddenly and unexpectedly need to use the bathroom. Or as the Brits would say, the loo. Yeah, that was actually one of my loves, so I'm glad we naturally progressed into that. I also love a good deserted island setting. I mean, it just works. I don't know why it works. Maybe it's just because like nothing else matters. Like there's really... everything else is secondary when it comes to deserted islands. I also love Survivor, the TV show. What's up, Jeff Probst? I hope you're listening. But whether it be Castaway, Robinson Crusoe, Swiss Family Robinson,
Lost.
all those old... Lost. There you go. I feel like Lost, they took a lot of Lord of the Flies into Lost. Because, you know, there is so much idea of good and evil, and you know what happens when people are just kind of left to their own devices on an island. So I was a big fan of that. I love a good deserted island. If someone says, hey, there's a movie coming out, I'm like, what's it called? They're like, it's called Deserted Island. I'd be like, down, I'll watch it. Shitty movie Sunday, perfect.
I actually thought too, I thought this book would make a great play, because I thought the dialogue parts were pretty legit. Like the other parts where I kind of zoned out for, I'm not gonna lie. Like whenever there was like an argument or some sort of leadership chaos going, I was kind of locked in. But then they'd be like describing the island. I was like, all right, I'm kind of out of this for a little bit now.
For sure. I'm kind of surprised that it's like, you know, guys and dolls, and I was gonna say Mickey Blue Eyes, but it's not that. What's that other one they do? Whatever. The point is that I feel like Lord of the Flies should be on like the local play thing. Like they should do that. Be great. I mean, the set pieces are probably pretty easy. Go wild. Do your thing.
One last thing for Loves. It was just wearing masks makes you like a new person. They were like painted their face and they could just do whatever the fuck they wanted. And I was like, I kind of love that, you know? Kind of like Halloween, you just kind of become a different person. I just like the idea of that.
So you're a big fan of Eyes Wide Shut featuring Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman.
Or when I wear a mask for COVID, I just can do whatever I want. I'm starting robbing banks and shit, you know? It's a different person. It's not me, so it's fine.
That's interesting you say that. I wonder if during COVID, like thefts and robberies, like petty larceny, stuff like that, went up because people felt they were disguised behind their mask. Or because the mask, the whole thing with the mask in the book is that like that's when Jack really turns, is when he starts painting his face, because he's not even Jack anymore. And even Ralph says that with like, it might even be Jack or one of the other guys. He's like, that's not Roger anymore. Like that's someone else. Because once they paint their face, they're not them. What'd you hate about it, though? Tell me what you hated.
British Navy.
Well, hold on. You're talking about a historic Navy. Like, we had the biggest Navy in the world for, like, a millennia.
And what happened, kid? I mean, but first off, they have zero idea where these kids are. The planes crashed. They're not looking for them. There's no, like, it seems like there's no search parties at all. Then they have a fighter pilot that dies on the island. They're not looking for him either. He evacuated from his plane. You know, he got parachuted out. So they're just not looking for these people at all, it seems like. And then they get to the island. These kids have been surviving for like 6 months, it seems like, at this point. They get there.
Yeah, it was tough to have a timeline.
Yeah, it seemed like it was pretty long. They're all like tattered up and like basically shit's just gone sideways. And they get there and he's like, why are you guys acting so like rambunctious? It's like, what the fuck, buddy? Like, how about here's some food? I can't believe you guys are alive. We're so excited to see you. He's like, oh, you fucking little kids acting like kids and not it's like, what?
Yeah. He's like, you guys playing out here?
Yeah.
It's like, no, we're dying. Yeah. We are literally dying.
Why are you dressed so poorly? It's like, buddy, like we've been on an island stranded for 6 months.
Yeah, they're terrible. It was terrible. He didn't offer him anything. And then at one point he's like, they're all crying, and he's like, I'm going to turn away and let them cry. That's how the book ends. I was like, what? Like,
you guys should be ashamed of yourselves.
Give that child a hug, for fuck's sake.
Didn't want to get his whites dirty, you know? So this white suit.
He might have taken short in it. The only thing I hated, really, was Jack Meridew, outside of the fact that he saved everybody. He basically, it started from the beginning. He said he should be chief because he can sing in C sharp. That was his mentality. Here's why I should be chief, because I can sing in C sharp.
Which is not very high of a note, right? I agree.
And they're making fun of Piggy. And this guy just said he should be chief because he can sing in C sharp. Someone give this Jack Meridew fella a noogie, because, like, what are you talking about, bro?
That's a British sport over there. Like I'm saying, it goes back to the British sports hates. That's like
choir.
Yeah, that's a prestigious position. He's not a nerd there.
Terrible. He's like, I'm head boy, and I can sing in C sharp. It's like, well, screw a set of balls, bro. Move on. Get out of here. Do you have any other hates?
The flip side of taking short in account of, that he uses sneak all the time instead of snuck, which I don't know if you've ever seen the Conan clip where Conan's interviewing Jennifer Gardner. Have you seen this clip before?
No, I haven't.
Well, let's just quickly run it down. He's like, yeah, so then I snuck into the house, and then Jennifer Gardner corrects him. He says, no, Conan, snuck isn't a word, it's sneak. I thought you went to Harvard. And he just like looks into the camera like distraught.
Yep.
Oh my God, Conan. I'm so wrong. And he's like, well, I actually went to Harvard driving school, not the college.
Oh,
says that.
Got him.
But then he brings out a dictionary and shows her that's actually a word. And everyone in the crowd's like, oh shit, got him. But anyways.
Wait, so the past tense.
Sneak. Wait. Yeah, snuck is a word.
Sneak is sneak?
I snuck in somewhere. Like but he would write it as the kids sneaked into the bushes. And he said it all the time, and I kept on being like, what the hell is this sneak word?
So it just brought you back to that
every
clip.
time I just heard it, I just saw that clip of Jennifer Gardner correcting him. You got to look that up. It's pretty funny.
Let's jump into some listener mail.
You've got mail.
It's from Gonzalez from a city in Brazil. That's interesting considering we do not have many South American listeners, but thank you. I appreciate that, Gonzalez. Thanks for listening.
There's a large German population there, though, and we deal with all the German listeners, so.
Oh, yikes, but we know why they're there. We know
Sorry,
why they
Gonzalez.
are
Jesus.
there. Are humans inherently good or inherently evil? It's as simple as that. And I think what his point is that the book's got a lot of deepness to it. So I'm not drunk. I'm just dumb. God damn it. Are humans inherently good or inherently evil? Because I think that's the point, right? That's kind of like the main point of this whole thing. Golding even said the theme of the book is an attempt to trace the defects of society back to the defects of human nature. So if the society's good, it's probably because the people are acting morally and doing the right thing. If the society's bad, probably the other way. You know, you can draw that to our own society as you like. But what do you think? Obviously, we are no philosophizers, but I will philosophize on my own podcast. Thank you very much. So I want your take first. Good? Are we good or are we evil?
I think it depends. I think the quote from Good Omens that we had, society's 2 meals and 24 hours away from barbarism. But realistically, we're all fucking monkeys, right? We're born with a survival of the fittest mindset. Are you really evil if you're killing someone to eat that last banana? Maybe, maybe not.
It comes to yourself before others, right? Is that kind of what it comes down to?
I think it's just...
I'm just trying to break it down to a different way to make it kind of more digestible. And I think good would technically be like you're willing to sacrifice yourself for others. If you were on this island and you had a candy bar, would you pocket it and eat a little bit of it every day? Yes. Or would you share it with other people? You know?
No, I think when forced to, every single person is selfish and looks out for themselves. So they're evil. If they're forced to the situation, then everyone's evil, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Golding, that's what he was going for, right? Mm-hmm. The idea that when it comes down to it, obviously there are some like good characters who are trying to do good things, but they're pretty much basing it on their past experiences, not necessarily like their heart, perhaps. But I agree. I'm on the same page. I really think that, and we love dystopian shit, and I think about it a lot, and I think I'm a good person, but I think if it all broke down, I'd probably do horrible things to make myself survive
like what?
Longer. I don't know, steal people's food, like with the basic things.
Wow, I didn't realize you were like that.
I don't think I would do like horrible things, just saying like I'm the strongest and I can do whatever the fuck I want.
Just to say, on this podcast, you've mentioned at least twice that you would eat humans, so you wouldn't do that, or you would?
Well, I would definitely. That's not that horrible though. Like if they were dead already, or if like I was really hungry, yeah. But I wouldn't like murder to murder, but I would.
You'd murder
to survive.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's what. Yeah. I guess that's the question: is that evil or not?
I don't know. I personally think the only thing that holds us really together is this like agreed upon morality, and that's pretty much like why, in my mind, that's like why religions were formed. It's like so we can have a base of morality that we can all agree upon. Mm-hmm. You know, that's how a society can function. That's why like religion is a big thing, is because then people say like, oh, okay, you know, if we pray to the rain gods, you know, then we'll get rain. And as opposed to just being like, no, let's just murder everyone and take everything, whatever's left.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that kind of sums it up. Gonzalez, I don't know. Send us an email. Let us know what you think. It's tough. This is, obviously lots of people, of smart people, not dumb people like us, have argued over this.
This is why hypotheticals are great. It's like, if you were put in this situation, would you do this? You know, and that's why I think.
Yeah, the only problem is I feel like people don't answer that stuff realistically.
Well, you don't know until you're put into it, really. I guess
that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I admit, like, I for sure. I'd play scared. I'd definitely be in fear of my own life and fear of those around me and fear of the people I care about. So, you know, I wouldn't be the one if there was like a new person that would like want to join the group. I'd be like, no. Like you can't because we don't trust you. Like we're good here.
My favorite hypothetical is, and this has nothing to do with this, but if you could take a pill that every day you had to shit exactly at the same time, every day, but you only take one shit and it's perfect every day at one time. But if you miss it, you have all day diarrhea and just the worst shits of all time. Would you do that?
Yeah. What do you mean? Just gotta take a pill every day?
Yeah. Let's say 9:30, you get stuck in traffic. you know, and that's the time. That's the time you had to take it. And now it's either you basically just ruined your whole day, but you're like, but the
Well,
affordability.
no, because if that was the case, I'd plan my whole life around that. You know?
Yeah, that's what I would do too. But but I mean,
Yeah.
what if you have to take a flight somewhere or something? There's certain things that are out of your control, you know.
You poop on the airplane. They have bathrooms.
What are we, barbaric? Jesus.
You take short on an airplane. It's really simple.
It all ties back together on account of the fact that I have bad shitting habits. That's why I ask it.
To be perfectly, candid as we do on this podcast, I think I'm almost 600 days from the last time I took short in my pants. And
Good for you.
and the last time I was getting off an airplane and I was like, I don't want to use the bathroom. Like, I'll hold it. And just walking down the old jetway there.
Your jetway was walking down too.
Yeah, it took short. That's for sure. Took short right in my shorts. Yeah.
Why not?
Short happens.
Nice. Stay in.
What do you got for Cast the Movie?
Cool. So what I would do is I wouldn't make it a kid's movie again. I'd make it an adult movie, but it's like a company.
Oh my God, Jesus!
What?
Christ. You'd make this an
a
movie
God
for adults.
Damn it. Yeah. Well, I said wow. Anyways, I would make it a company retreat. They're all in like a private jet. It's like 30 of them. And they land and the same thing happens. And it would just be like basically based off their roles of the company. So what I would have is basically like Edward Norton. I would have as the CEO being the nerdy guy, and he would play Ralph. So he's kind of like not nerdy, but you know what I mean. He's like kind of level-headed. And then I would have Joaquin Phoenix as Jack, who would be like a sales guy, who becomes like, all about getting after it, getting food, like making sure things. And then he becomes like the crazy one, obviously. And then Piggy would be Seth Rogen. He'd be kind of like Piggy in this way would be more of like a funny, lighthearted, but also can be serious, which Seth Rogen has shown he can do. And he'd be kind of the guy that, like, if you saw him as the tech guy from Apple, he'd be like that role pretty much, but more lighthearted.
What would it, Wozniacki or whatever?
Yeah, but like obviously more lighthearted than that because he's a little bit like more shy or reserved there. But that's how I think it would be kind of an interesting role to see because all these guys are known to be able to like take on, like, seem like could be an average guy, like Edward Norton can be an average guy, and then all of a sudden turn into something different pretty quickly, and it's believable. So I think that would just be a cool way to do it.
I think it'd also be interesting with your idea here if it's this company, because there already is an assumed hierarchy within that company, but then when society is like stripped from them, how do they actually respond?
Yeah, once they realize you're not a company anymore, you're just in the wilderness by yourself. It's like, why the fuck am I listening to the CEO? Like that's what you assume at first, but then that's the same thing with Ralph. It's like I have a conch, and it's all of a sudden he's like, why do I give a shit with this guy's a conch? Who cares? Like by the end, it's the same
It'd be great
thing.
if it's like the mailroom guy or something like that who is the Jack character.
Well, I think the salespeople make sense because they're super get after it, and like that's their whole mindset. Usually, salespeople are,
Yeah, no, I get it, but I'm just thinking more of just the idea that someone from the bottom,
some like CrossFit bro,
is crazy. Yeah, exactly. Some CrossFit bro who's the mailroom thing. It's just like, hey, this is only my side gig because working out is my main gig.
Right. What about you?
Well, I just thought in terms of a movie, similarly like Plane Crash, you think, but I came at it from the idea of like, because none of these guys besides the choir bros, Jack and his crew, knew each other beforehand, right? So like everyone was meeting each other for the first time.
Yeah.
So I feel like you have to do something along those lines, or at least that's what I was thinking of. So it'd be like, one of those vacation flights to like the DR or something like that, where everyone's on the plane, everyone's super excited. You're usually there with like a family member or like a couple or something like that, but that's it, And so I was thinking something more along those lines, where like then that thing crashed, but then that just kind of gets into like lost territory. And really the only one that mattered to me was Roger, because he's like turns into the most sadistic fuck, and he's just the executioner pretty much. He's just like, all right, I'm gonna kill. Like he consciously kills Piggy. He's just like, no, I'm just gonna like kill this kid, So I wanted Willem Dafoe, because I feel like Willem Dafoe would be great at that. So if you can work Willem Dafoe into he's almost like going to be like the Dwight Schrute of your office.
Yeah. What role would he play? Maybe like marketing like us, because we're fucking sickos, you know? So
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe we just take the cast of The Office and do this to them.
we go real dark real quick.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what if they came back there? We're having an Office reunion special, and it was just them remaking Lord of the Flies, but
I think we might be
with
onto
the
something.
Office characters. Yeah, that would actually. Angela would definitely be up there. She might be Jack. You know.
Yeah.
Her and Dwight would do like a dual Jack role.
Yeah, hey, it's not the worst idea. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, I can. I'll pitch it. Who owns it? NBC? I'll pitch it to them. I want to do some literary questions quickly. Yeah, I'm going to do some fast shooters at you. You can answer any way. You can take as long as you want or as little as you want. Ready, set, go. Identify the most significant symbol in the novel. Come on.
What? This is a subjective answer. There's no. Is there one?
Yeah,
is there
exactly.
One? Oh, okay.
No, it's subjective.
The conch.
How so?
It represents society, and anything you can blow on, if you know what I mean, D-man.
You literally just stole my answer.
Anything you can blow on, baby.
I said that earlier in the pod. You can't just take that and say it.
What did you say? Did you say something about blowing on things?
I said about the conch.
What's your answer? Is it also the conch?
No, of course not.
What is it?
I tried not to think about these because I didn't want to like just kind of put you on the spot and then feel like I couldn't. But I think I would say Piggy's glasses.
Oh.
Because everything's going good. He's got his glasses on. Everything's fine. And then all of a sudden when things start to break down a little bit and no one listens to him anymore, like he breaks one lens.
Can't see clearly anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of dual meaning in that, like you said, they can't, like not only like everyone can't see clearly anymore, but also like Piggy's like a representative of like the intellectual.
Yeah. But can you make it a double entendre or no?
I don't. No, I can't like the conch. No, I can't.
Oh, wow.
But what's interesting is that the glasses also like start fires, and fires burn down the island. Fire saves them. Who knows? But then when Piggy loses his glasses, it's like, all right, it's game over.
So the
like,
glasses saved them all, is what you're saying. That got them rescued. Okay, that's
even
fair.
Even though. Okay, compare and contrast Ralph and Jack as leaders. Which character is a stronger leader? Go.
Jack. It's about muscle. It's about strength. It's about power. It's about... I don't know.
It's about honor.
Yeah, I was trying to think of the rock song. What is that?
Yeah.
Jack. He became the better leader.
Yeah, I mean, Ralph is a good leader, there's no question, but he's like too moral. You know what I mean? It's like one of those things where that's why everyone ends up believing him, because he's just like too...
I don't know if he's that moral.
Too
I feel like
truthful.
he kind of sucked. I don't know. You're like kind of praising Ralph. You're like blowing smoke up his conch, but I don't think was that good.
But I guess in terms of like leading a pack, like Jack would be a good sergeant or someone, or platoon leader, because he's just like, all right, you give him an objective, he'll go and do it. But Ralph sees the bigger picture. The problem is like, what's your goal as a leader? Like, is your goal just to be like, who can drive the emotions of men? Then it's Jack. If your goal is like, who can push everything forward as a whole, it's probably Ralph, but who knows? Either way, next one. What does Golding's novel seem to be saying about human nature or society?
We already did that. That's basically it.
Yeah, we kind of did that. Yeah, we did that. All right, we're good there. Okay. So, Keith, we're here. Would you recommend Lord of the Flies to your friends, to your family members, to your nieces and nephews?
I think it's a solid book. I think it's kind of a book that you can reference a lot with, like kind of a lot of stories are based around it about, good versus evil, about humanity and kind of what people will do once they're faced with uncertainty or things like that. So I think it's interesting in that matter. I wouldn't go out of my way to recommend it to someone, but I do think it's solid. I think it's a good book to read in high school, and I'm happy we reread it. I think it was cool to get to reread it and get the perspective of it later on. What about you?
Yeah, I'm not even sure I read it in high school. I think I Spark Noted it back when you had to like rent out Spark Notes or whatever. But I would definitely recommend it. I think it's just what is it? It's 200 pages. Like, I own it at my house. I live by the beach. If someone came over and was like, hey, I'm going to go to the beach, want to grab a book? It's like, hey, well, you're not going to finish a lot of books. So
yeah.
Grab Lord of the Flies, see what happens. Maybe it's like, I'll leave it in the bathroom. People are taking short, But The thing I like about this is it's a good story, but it also, at least for me, it did make me think. And it also made me think in a way that the ideas weren't so blurred. You sometimes we read a book and people are like, oh, this is like really symbolic of this and the other thing. Like, I didn't see any of that. I'm really dumb. This, they kind of spelled out the general ideas, and like you could probably keep digging if you wanted to, but the general stuff I feel like was there to see like, oh, okay, like this is how it works. All right, so what's coming up next for us? We're going to do Well of Ascension because we're going back into the MISTBORN series because we just liked it so much that why the hell not? Get another 30-hour book under our belt.
Easy.
Cool. Well, Keith, this has been fun. It was nice to take a literary journey. Although, you know, we broke it down for the layman, I feel like. And by layman, I mean us. I feel so dumb reading stuff like this. Oh, good God. But either way, I'm excited. We got the summer coming up. We got some beach reads. But I guess until next time. Bye now.